Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Soul Stories. I'm your host, Laura Walubengo, and today I have a new guest, of course, somebody who I've known for, I would say, over a decade or two. But the kind of friendship that we have and the kind of relation that we have means that we can just pick up and go after 5 years, after 7 years. And if that hasn't happened to you yet, I urge you to look for that kind of relationship with someone. But today, I would like to introduce you to Shreya Karia. And before I get in there and give you my definition of who I think she is, I'd like her to tell us who she introduces herself as nowadays. Hi.
Hi, Laura. Wow,
Who are you, Shreya?
10 years of a journey together. And it's exactly like you said, we just pick up where we left off without missing a beat.
Yeah.
Those kinds of relationships are harder to find now in life. Who am I? I'd like to think that I'm a soulful human being.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think that I am a human being trying to connect people to each other meaningfully through life. Because we are so much more than the work that we do.
Yeah.
I love being free as a person and making choices of my own. And outside of that, I am a passionate brand strategist. I love all things brands and the way I guess a brand can make you feel something and connect you and take you on a journey. And outside of that, I'm also a spin instructor as my passion hobby. That is me.
Passion hobby. Why do you put it that way? Passion hobby.
Because I don't teach for money. And it's purely for my own passion to fill my own cup. And it comes back to this whole thread of mine of wanting people to feel connected. And I want them to feel connected to themselves on a bike, not to feel that they have to look a certain way or have a certain body or perform at a specific endurance level. It's just to find themselves and discover their own personal journey on a bike.
I have so many things to unpack just from what you said in the past, 2-3 sentences. But let me start with, you love brands.
Yes.
What is it about brands that fascinate you the most?
If you really strip away what a brand is supposed to do, somebody built something out of a deep why. Why does this product or service have to exist? How can it solve a problem for somebody? Or how has it solved a problem for me? How can I take that and connect it for somebody else to make it meaningful for them? And don't you just love that idea that somebody had this idea that they wanted to solve a problem and created something and try to make it then meaningful, not just for them, but for you and the next person and the next person. We look at brands as transactional, and of course they are, because nobody ever makes something just for free, just because. But the intention behind them is so much more, and I love that.
Okay, so how does SHK, tell me a little bit about SHK Consulting.
Yes.
What SHK stands for.
Yeah.
And also how you work with brands, I guess.
Okay. So SHK Consulting is the brand studio that I founded 13, maybe 14 years ago. And it feels like a whole other lifetime ago. And it began just as my passion for brands and seeing that there was a gap in the market for people really paying attention to that connection thread. And that's where it started. And when you are young, in your 20s, you're fearless. You're like, I'll start this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. I'll go do something else. That's how it was born. And along the way, it has had many lives of rebirths. We still do exactly what we do, but many more people have come through the doors and added their lens to it, their passion, their joy, their love for brands. And that has grown us and evolved us to being soulful, more than just a transactional company. And we predominantly help brands in the premium segment. And now that's not an elitist thing. It's just where my expertise has always been and where I felt I could leverage my learnings, my work experience, my lived experience best. But we help brands really meaningfully understand, who do you serve? Why do you do it? How are you the only one who does it? And how can you connect that to somebody who needs what you need? That's really the heart of what we do.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, so do you
Yes.
find that you get a brand, maybe they know what they do, and then I think what's the other thing you said, that they're the only ones doing it
in their category.
in
Yes.
that category. So does that ring true, or sometimes do you have to create them to be the only brand doing it?
So if I told you the truth, there's this beautiful test that I love, and I challenge everybody, even if you're a personal brand, if you are a business, a service. It's called the onlyness test. And the question asks you to ask yourself, what are you the only one to do in your category? Can you definitively say you are not for everyone? Because you can never be for everybody. So who are you clearly for? What is the problem you solve for them? How do you do it? And what is the proof behind that you can do it for the person you say you do it? And most brands and most personal brands cannot answer that question. Right? I have this product. Let me throw it at the wall and hope it sticks, right?
Like ugali.
That's correct. And that is not how you make something meaningful, right? We were talking before this about this beautiful space we're in, Semabox, and you said something very interesting to me, that they've found the sweet spot that helps tell the stories for podcasters, right?
Yeah.
And you feel that they care about you. And they're very clear on how they want to do it, and they do it in an excellent way without shortchanging you. Can you say that about every brand that exists? No, most. And this example that we're taking right now, Semabox, is sadly few and far between now. It's not the norm, and it should be the norm, right? And it has nothing to do with price point, and it has nothing to do with sales volume or anything like that. It's just, what is the intention of what you want to put out there, and what you want it to say, and what do you want it to reflect?
I guess that's the soulful bit that you were talking about earlier. And I'd like us to go into that. But before we go into that, maybe you can just take me through the journey of SHK Consulting. I think I interacted with you almost from the very beginning.
Many layers, yes.
But like, how has it grown? Even as, you know, you help other brands define themselves. I guess you get to define yourself as well.
The beautiful thing about creating a business or a brand is that you get to be intentional, if you choose it, about how you evolve, who you want to work with, the impact you make or not, right? And it offers you the opportunity to become hyper self-aware if you want to take it. So over the years, I've had to be challenged with, is my way the right way? Is my way the highway? Is it the only way? You know, as a founder, you get stuck in these ideas of, well, I started the business and it brought in clients from the beginning, and we made a name for ourselves. So that must be the right way. But is that true, or is that ego speaking? And how far do you want to deviate from your original course and say, oh, I'll add this other offering that we do, and I'll add this other offering, and then soon we're everything but the kitchen sink. And then what kind of people will you let walk through your space and contribute to this idea you've created? Are they adding value? Are you adding value to them? Are they not adding value? Do they sound good on paper but really are not great? How often are you willing to turn down clients because of these principles that you have? Or are your principles just something you have on a website, but actually you'll do anything and everything to make a quick buck? And I think those are the questions that have evolved. And in my industry, tech has played a bigger role. People just think now, I can outsource everything to AI. But AI is a beautiful thing, and it makes a lot of people's lives easier, and it makes our lives easier. But you don't AI away deep strategy and the human thinking and the intuitiveness, right? And I find ourselves narrowing down now hyper focusing on where we stand and what we do. So not saying, before we were like, yes, we'll consult on marketing. Yes, we'll consult on experiential. Yes, absolutely, we can take on your PR, because that was the environment of the landscape of the work. And now I find us saying, no, I will not do that PR piece for you, but I can recommend somebody that we think is brilliant, and that is their area of specialization. And no, I don't think that we are the best to run your Google ads, but I can recommend the person who has mastered it so exceptionally that you will be happier that you worked with them. So I think we have evolved, staying true to who we were and who we wanted to build for, but we are now becoming more hyper specialized, with the idea that there is room for collaboration, and I can recommend Laura, and it doesn't take away from my business.
There you go. Okay, so what can you say is, I guess, for you, Shreya, as a person,
Yes,
and also as SHK, what would you say is your biggest learning in the founder journey, and also just trying to find your space as a company?
Yeah. I think there are so many questions and so many elements that you get shaped with. The biggest one is, what do you want to stand for? Out there, when you're trying to sell your business and get customers in, what am I selling? What ethics am I living by? What can I hang my hat on to tell you, I'm so bankable, you should go with me? You have to know that about yourself, because if you don't know that about yourself as a founder, how do you drive a business forward? How do you lead people inspired into that, right? The other thing that I think you really have to understand is that competition is brilliant, because it forces you to challenge yourself to get better, be better. But I'm in a competition with myself. I'm in a competition to be the best version of me. So if I go and collaborate with Laura, or if I push something to Laura, I haven't lost because Laura won. I wasn't in a race with Laura. I was in a race against a vision and an idea I set out for myself. And am I honoring that? That's been a lesson that I always lived by, that idea to collaborate and share. And if somebody asks me a question, do you recommend this, or can you suggest? I will happily. I don't want to gatekeep. What I learned very quickly with that, though, was people are ready to knock you down faster than they are ready to say, hey, you fell down the rabbit hole. Let me give you a hand to come back up. And I found that especially when I was starting out my business as a female. Now there are so many more females in my industry, right, doing what I'm doing. But at the time, they were few and far between. And everyone would be quick to knock you down or put you in a box. And there were times I'd have to be like, well, why am I doing this? Who am I? Am I going to get myself back up again and keep going? Because remember, the person running the marathon at the pack at the top of the race, he's not cared about the guy at the bottom of the race or the middle. They're running their own race, right? They are running their race for their own reasons. He has no idea what those reasons are. He cares about why he's running his race. He cares about number 2 and 3 behind him, because they could overtake him, but he's not caring about everybody else. And we've got to master that ourselves.
Could you give me some examples of maybe some of the things, there's always things that stick in your head.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm never going to go back there.
Yeah.
Or I'm never going to let that get in my way.
Yeah.
So the fact that you mentioned that you were one of a few females at that time, what are some of the things that you had to, I guess, get over?
Okay, so I'll give you one of the biggest ones, and this still happens today, right? And I don't think it's exclusive to happening just in Kenya. It happens around the world, but it is so, so true. So initially, one, that, okay, I've started this business. I'm still unsure, is it going to work or not? Even by year 3 or 4, you're always constantly thinking that, right? But if I'm trying to pitch to Laura, I have to come out as 200x confident. There is no room for error because Laura's going to be like, I'm not investing in somebody who's doubting. I'm investing in somebody who's, so you are already picking yourself. I'm saying, you got this, Shreya. You're going to do this. It's going to be great. Now, if you're going into rooms where you want to play big leagues, I'm not talking small leagues, and big leagues can mean different things to different people. But if you're saying I'm walking into the big leagues, and somebody immediately says, well, who's your boss? Who's running the company? Who's the CEO? You didn't bring them? Are you here just to take the notes and send it back? Inferring a female couldn't be at the helm of it, right? So very early on, I was confronted with this idea. Are you going to perpetuate that to try and close the deal? Or are you going to stand for what you believe? Because one of the original reasons I started my own company was because in one of the companies I worked for, I was feeling like I was always the outcast and I was trying to fit an old man's club that was never designed for me, right? So no matter how many hoops I jumped through, I was never going to fit in. So was I going to perpetuate that? Or was I going to stand up and say, I'm really sorry you're disappointed, but guess what? You get me and you get all of me and I'm here and I got the guts to stand here in front of you and I had the guts to build my business.
Wow.
Hard lessons, right? Because it's not straightforward to say that because, hey, you've got bills to pay. You've got your own doubts to confront. And every other person out there who's saying, I told you not to start that business because I knew you'd get nowhere. How do you grapple with any of that, right?
And it's like they all come together.
They do. They don't. It's never like, hey, universe will send you one of those. Okay, you dealt with that. Great. It's not like a video game, right? It'll come all in a wave because they are all connected. And so are you going to sit down on the floor and say, this is too much for me? I need to rethink this. And that is okay also, right? There is zero shame in that. Or are you going to say, I'm going to fight. I'm really going to fight. And I'll tell you at the end of last year, not just work, but just through this whole journey, I got to a point and say, well, how many times am I going to keep fighting? How many times am I going to get up again? And my mom said to me, but Shreya, that is the journey of life. If you'd already fought every battle, if you'd already had every answer, then why do you need to live to 70 or 80? You could just live 1 year of your life and that would be that.
Wow. That's great advice.
It is great advice from a 70-year-old woman.
We need to listen to them.
Do we need to listen to these 70-year-old women more?
There's so much to unpack from what you're saying. But let me just go back to my own personal, I guess, observation. So I feel like when you're on the right path, the universe sort of brings things to you quicker.
100%.
So you'd be like, okay, this is probably what a founder would be going through in year 5, but here I am on month 6, doing
time
all
is
of
condensed,
these things,
right?
So I mean, apart from you trying to get a place for yourself and all these dissenting voices coming through, what actually helps you define to yourself that I think I'm doing the right thing?
One, I was always, by hook or crook, very clear that I had to pay all my bills on time. That just was a business priority for me, right? That now, whether my bills were 3 in a month or 23 in a month, it did not matter. But I had to, on principle, pay my bills at the end of the month. So I had to hold myself accountable in that month to say, hey, I'm not going to take the easy road, right? I don't feel like going to work today. Okay, so I'll just go back to bed and not show up, right? It looks easy because I'm sitting here and I'm nicely dressed and I'm laughing and chatting with you, but make no mistake, whatever your dream is, and I think we have glamorized success so much that we forgot to tell people along the way, your dream is so valid and success will come, but if you put in the hard work, if you show up every single day and you give 14 hours a day and don't stop, right? My 14 hours a day was answerable to paying those bills. And I had that clear at the back of my mind. I will never not pay a bill on time. I will have failed my business, even if on the outside it looks great. So you have to define what is a non-negotiable for you in your business when you are starting out. And I still hold that true to today, that we will pay all our bills on time. We will not be that business.
I love that. That's a very interesting way to hold yourself accountable. I've never really thought of it that way. Because I think we have certain theories that we stick to when it comes to businesses and founders. That it happens. It happens.
Does not happen. Okay. You have to be intentional about it. You have to, and look, here's the very honest truth. As women, we're all taught mindset. We're taught how to present well. We're taught all of that. So important, yes. But if I'm wanting the bank to give me a loan, if I'm trying to look for a partner, if I'm trying to bring funding into my business, if I'm trying to hire you, assign you on as a client, right? You're not interested in that. You're interested in how fiscally responsible I am, how I can operate my business, how I can make things happen, right?
Exactly.
But we don't teach women how to show up in their business like that. So in order for me to change the world and do better, I need to make my business profitable. Because otherwise I'm not going to change anything. But how do we get profitable? Simple equation. Hold yourself accountable to one business decision and never waver on it. And I actually added one more layer to that, always paying my bills on time. When it started to get, when times were hard and you were like, how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to make this happen? I made a mindset shift that paired with this business thing, was that every time I signed a check, I was going to thank the universe that I had the capacity to sign that check, or that somebody gave me a service that I had money to pay them, or I needed them for something. And that changed me feeling begrudged and like, oh, I don't want to part with my money. But hey, I'm so lucky that, universe, you sent me this person. They gave me this thing. I'm paying for it. Did it work? Amazing. That was a blessing. Did it not work? Lesson learned. And that changed this fear of money and finance to, we will make it through always, no matter what.
I love that. So I think I remember when you spoke about the soul of your business and what you set out to do.
Yes.
Would you say that 13, 14 years down the line, you are actually doing that?
Definitely.
Definitely.
We just had our very first brand workshop for founders, businesses, team leaders on Saturday. That is 14 years worth of work. When you have to ask somebody to believe in themselves enough to spend a whole Saturday with you, but then you have to stand in front of them for 9 hours and teach them something, you put everything on the line, right? Your expertise, your personality, your values, your soul, right?
Yeah.
And I've challenged myself a lot in the last 6 months. I'm not going to lie to you, Laura, when I say that was the single most hardest thing I have done. To put yourself on the line and stand and talk in front of people for 9 hours and they feel that they got value for their dream and their business and take it and run with it. I'm hanging my credibility on the line. I'm hanging my expertise on the line. There's nowhere to hide. I can't hide behind a social media post. I can't fake anything, right? An award or anything. I'm putting all of my team members on the line for that, right? That if you can do that and do something in your business or whatever you started on a mission to build, and you can stand there, no mask, and put yourself in front of people and say, this is what I have to offer you. And it can land and somebody can say, that changed my life. That confirmed what I was thinking. I needed that to shape my business more. That is soulful. Because you've now told somebody that their business has merit. You've not gone in and told them you're shit, excuse my language, or that you have nothing of value to give to the world. Instead, you've told them, think of it like this. Use this. Empower yourself, empower your teams, and run with it. I think we are the most soulful we've ever been and the most credible we've ever been. I think they two go hand in hand.
Shreya, that was a deep answer. Thank you very much.
You can see what my state of mind is currently.
And especially when you talk about, I I think how that Saturday broke you, but then
Yes.
built you at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that is how life is. And actually, let's talk about that. So just the other day, a friend of mine and I were talking about what do we think the purpose of life is.
Yeah.
So before I tell you what I think, I'd like to hear what you think. Why do you think we exist?
Okay, so I'm going to give you context and tell you that I'm a Hindu.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I tell you that is because I believe it forms the part of my answer. And in my religion, we believe in reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't arrive at, I'm not just a Hindu because somebody in my family told me I should be one. I went on my own journey to understand my religion, and I wanted to know, did it connect for me? And I love the idea of reincarnation because it's just like a journey of multiple lives, exactly as your current life is. And I think the journey and the purpose of life is to really discover who you are. God, the universe, energy, whatever you believe in, never intended for us to be a sea of same. That you are here is not a coincidence. So there is only one of you, and nobody can outbeat you at being you. So I really think the purpose of life is to discover who you is and own it fully. The good, the not so good, the falls down the rabbit hole and the highs, and say, this is who I am. And that when you come to the end of that life, you're like, my life was so rich because of all of these things, that journeys that I took and paths that led me to uncover who I was. And I gave the very best of me that I could. And I just can't wait for the next version of life and who I become then. I just think that is just so joyful.
Do you think they're connected though?
Yes.
Your life now?
Yes. Yeah. Because energy doesn't just dissipate, right? It transforms. And I think if we are truly soulful, you carry pains, burdens, joys, blessings. You carry all of it up with you. Yeah. That is what I think life is. What is your, I'm so curious to know what your purpose of life is.
I mean, it's kind of similar. I feel like as human beings, apart from discovering yourself, it's very important for you to discover yourself, but to also to discover the environment around you.
Yeah.
So in this world, it's not by chance that you have somebody who's fascinated by leaves and wants to go in and actually check those leaves out.
Yes.
Somebody who's fascinated by water and has to discover all of that. I think that sort of fascination that we each have for different facets of life need to come together to a place where we share that information.
Yeah.
So first you discover your environment and yourself at the same time. And as you do that, you share what you discover. And I think that's what the courage that you had to come up with for the Saturday you're talking about, because you know what you've learned, you know what you've discovered, but to be able to share it takes courage.
You know, I love what you just said, that, you know, you might love trees and you might love water, but come and teach us about it. Come and share with us so we can know from you. And the sad thing is, we are now punishing people for having a different path and a different thought and a different identity. And instead of saying, can you tell me why you see the world that way? And can you teach me, right? This idea of tolerance and understand. You're weird. You're just not normal. And I don't like what you have to say, and I'm just going to cancel you, right? That's the sadness of the world. We're pushing people to hide away all of these beautiful aspects of them.
That's true. But then at the same time, I feel like the generation that's coming up is a lot more tolerant.
Are you hopeful for them?
I'm scared, if I'm to be honest, because I think as a Gen X, I don't really understand maybe the plane that they're on, the spiritual plane, the soulful plane that they're on. I don't get it. And so based on that, at least maybe I can tell myself that, you know, hey, you can try and learn from it, or just try and understand it. And I mean, don't. It's you're on a different path anyway, so that's fine. So I have some hope.
Okay.
But my hope is mainly in the people aspect of it. So how they stand up for each other.
Yeah.
And how they understand and give each other space to grow.
Yeah.
Which is something that I guess, anybody in their 40s right now is learning right now.
We're learning it right now instead of, in our teens or our early 20s. And I think that is the best advantage that the next generation has.
Yeah. Before you've told yourself who you are.
Yeah. And I think, look, change in the world we are in a pretty bad place in the world right now, right? Anywhere in the world. It's not just a Kenya thing, it's anywhere. Change will only come from when people ask better of themselves and others, right? We just haven't been asking better of people for generations, right? And this is the culmination of that. And I think the next generation are like, yeah, I'm going to hold you accountable more. I'm not going to trust what you say and believe that it's good because I'm a good person, so I believe you are a good person. No, I'm going to hold you accountable. Show it to me.
Yeah, I love that. Also when you were talking, you spoke about the sea of same. I love that phrase.
Sea of same.
So I feel like, yes, there is a sea of similar.
Okay.
But it's not the sea of same. So as much as there's power in the individuality, there's also the recognition of the similar.
Okay.
And so similarity comes in how we understand things.
Yes.
And it comes in how we, I guess, express things.
Yeah.
So let me build on that a little bit.
Yeah.
On this podcast, I like to ask people what their soul stories are.
Yeah.
And before I ask you, and actually I am in fact asking you, Shreya, what is your soul story? But before you answer, what would you define your soul as?
My soul is an old soul. I know this without a doubt. I think I was born in the wrong generation. And I think, though, maybe I say that because everything that I think is so beautiful about the world was truer back in the day. People had value for community. People raised children not as one husband and one wife trying to make ends meet and entirely frazzled without a support ecosystem. We raised children as extended families, as communities. We took ownership of what you and I were accountable for in a community. We knew our place. We knew that we contributed not just to, hey, Shreya's better and Laura's better and individual, but everything I did contributed to the better good, a better place, right? And we didn't demean people for their roles. And we didn't put people down. And we really, I think people saw people for who they were. And I just love the idea of that. And I think I resonate to that because I was very fortunate that my grandparents, when I was born, both my maternal grandparents were alive. And I had a good chunk of time with them, enough to notice and understand that. And I think that was the beautiful, most blessed gift they left me, was to see life through a different lens. Obviously, when you're young, you can't appreciate that, but I do now. Yeah.
That's a gift. So
I am an old soul. So in my next life, I hope that my soulfulness will come out as an old soul. And actually, it's really funny. I was having this conversation with somebody off the back of the workshop, and they were like, "That's the coolest thing you've ever done." I'm like, "Of all the things I've ever done, okay, that's wow, thank you." And I said to them, "Do you know what? I feel like my 40s are going to be the wow of my life. I feel it." But wait till I get to my 50s. Then you will see. And I just feel that in my heart and soul.
Okay. So is that your soul story? How do you think from an old soul, living in this current reality, where do you think it's going? Where do you think your soul is going?
in the earlier parts of my business, because I was in a race to keep proving myself in the business and making it successful, right? The sense of energy I had was move at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Now, that is important because that's momentum. But you can appreciate that when you move at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you're almost a steamroller and you're rolling people out the way, right?
Yeah.
And either you're telling people, get on my steam train or get off the train. Now, that works for certain personalities and that is great for certain people, but other people don't do well in that, right? So my soul journey has been a train moving recklessly, crazily, to now being on the tracks where the train has more time to nurture other people, to say, okay, your learning is not 1,000,000 miles an hour the way I consume information and the pace I move, but I can come down to appreciating how I can show you the same things I know, but through a way that makes sense for you. I think my soul story is about being a teacher. I think that is the thing life brought me here to do, to teach in many shades, teach through my own personal life, through I've had many trials and ups and downs, teach through my work, teach by example, teach by falling down. And I think teaching is the way I'm going to show my soul to other people. Because when I go, I'm not carrying a plaque on the door that said SHK Consulting. I'm not carrying money in the bank or any of that. But if somebody sits back and says, I'm here because somebody said I should run with my dream, or I had a dream, but I didn't have a roadmap and somebody gave me a roadmap, that is the best thing I'll have done with my soul. Yeah.
That's
What's
brilliant.
your soul?
What's my soul story?
Yes, come on. Can't leave this hanging. Cannot leave this hanging.
Okay, so I think I've all my life, quite by accident, I've been telling other people's stories. And
this is true, actually.
Yeah.
This is how I know you.
And some of those stories, it was by force, or rather just by happenstance. But then I want to be a bit more intentional about the stories I tell. And the stories I want to tell are stories of people who have the generosity to involve other people in their journey. I think the power in the fact that we really have to carry the people behind us.
Yes.
Because as much as, let's say, you have the Gen X and they're very strong in how they think, we have the experience of being on this earth.
Yeah.
And so anybody who has had that experience of being on this earth for a certain amount of time needs to figure out how to share what they've learned.
Yeah, I think we're morally responsible.
Exactly. And so I think my soul story now is to talk to people and learn from them and share what they've learned with others.
I love that.
That's simply what I'm trying to do.
It's another teacher.
I guess there's many of us, yeah?
Yeah.
There's scientists and then there's teachers.
Correct.
But actually that leads me to the next part of what I wanted to talk to you about. Legacy is a very important thing. And I think...
Oh, what a loaded word.
I know. But, it simply just means, what are you leaving behind?
Yeah.
And you've already said you're not leaving behind a placard. You're not leaving behind a bank account. You will, but then that's not what people will remember. So I just want you maybe to share what you think the importance of leaving behind something tangible is.
So I'll give you a story as a prelude to this about legacy and a placard on a wall. When we got into sort of year 5 of my business, it's not enough that, hey, you made it through the critical years, but then everybody's opinions start giving you advice, solicited or otherwise, right? Why don't you bring a franchise in of another company and you can scale your business into multiple countries in Africa and you could have many offices and this and that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. You're just silly. You don't know business. But I'll tell you what the trick was on that. I was very clear that when I go, or the day I stop my business, I don't want somebody else behind my name. That's my name. That's the only thing I hang my hat on when I go. I want my business to live, flourish, or die on me because I needed to be accountable to that. And so tomorrow, if I tell you, Laura, SHK Consulting will stop, I will be okay with that. I don't need a plaque to know that it continues. I don't want somebody else's values to shape the way I saw the world. And so for me, the idea of legacy is knowledge. You said that we are responsible for sharing with the next generation because we've already been here, right? If I share with you what I learned, what I failed in, and what life taught me, I'm not poorer because of it. I've not denied myself success because of it. But I might have helped you on your journey, right? The only difference between a successful person that you see and where you are on your journey is that they just did it for longer, right? It's not that they were, I'm assuming all things are even, right? And you're the hard worker and you're passionate, but they just did it for longer. So if you can help someone collapse that time, why wouldn't you, right? And for me, I used to take it really personally when people left working for me. Like it was like a dagger to the heart. And I took it very personally. But then I stopped to look at it and say, well, this was never their dream. This was your dream. They have another dream. So how can you help them get on that dream or one step closer to that dream? And so now I just think of all the people who crossed my paths and spent their time with me, or I was privileged enough to see a chapter of their journey. And if I shared anything with them that got them one step closer on that dream, that is the legacy. Or if I inspired you at 14 years old to say, Laura, yeah, you know, your physics paper's really hard and you're struggling, I know, but the win is not in getting 99%. The win is in doing your best despite not getting that grade. What do you think that child takes for the rest of their life? Shreya said I should show up, and that's the win. That's a pattern they take for life, right? We don't then wait for people to be 40 and get them into therapy and tell them you are worthy, right? We show them that you're worthy from day one. I think that's legacy for me.
And you know, it's funny because sometimes you might think that that's a small contribution. But if you look back at your own life, like for example, my first job, I was cleaning, I was working as a sales executive, that's what they used to call it.
This fancy title, but really it was not.
I was a sales executive in a shop where we sold Christian music. So when you get there, of course, you have to clean the place out. And I remember when it was busy sometimes and customers would walk in and you're like, I really don't feel like serving any customers right now. And so, you know, you try and avoid eye contact and you know.
Well, they're still gunning for you.
So there's one lady that actually just beckoned to me and called me and said, okay, so I've come in. I'm a customer in your shop. And I can see clearly that you're trying to avoid me. So if I was to give you work, or if I was to pick somebody here to give some good work, I wouldn't pick you. And I wouldn't pick you because of this sort of behavior. So, I mean, if you're doing work, then do it. Do it gracefully, do it open-heartedly, and just do your work properly. And I've never forgotten that. I think
that changed
19,
your
20,
trajectory.
I've never forgotten that. So it's always in my head. So even when I go somewhere, and let's say, even if I'm a guest in a building, and somebody comes in and looks lost, I'm going to ask you, do you need something? Let me call somebody. It's
just so ingrained in you,
exactly.
Right?
And it took her 3 seconds to tell me that.
But biggest life lesson, right?
Yep.
And in theory, the company or the boss that hired you should have taught you that. But lessons don't come in a straightforward line, right? They really do not. And I think this is one of the sad things, that we have a whole generation that works from home and thinks working from home is great, but you miss all of this, and you miss interpersonal skills, and you miss people giving you wisdom because they've lived it. And then we put people into the world who have no context of how to behave or how to be because we never showed them.
Yeah, that's true. But then, it's so weird because everything just has to be learned.
It has to be learned.
Even
right?
now in the era of AI, they're learning as much as we are. Yeah, they're probably learning faster than we are. But then you're like, okay, after you have to put a stress test on it. Yeah.
Everything.
So like, okay, after 5 years, you're like, this AI thing works for me in this way and it doesn't work for me in this way.
Correct.
And then you move on from that. And so I guess those are the things that we need to teach. But let me ask you, so I do know, I guess, with some of the clients that you work with, you are privy to a lot of legacy, so to speak.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the reservations that you've noticed or some of the barriers towards the knowledge passing hands?
I'll give you the straightforward answer on this because I really think there's one answer. They forgot who they serve. I serve a shareholder. I serve a board. I serve a bank. I don't serve the customer. So if I'm beholden to a shareholder, I'm beholden to my profit and loss statement. Instinctively, I'm going to make the equation that sharing knowledge, spending time, passing something down is not bringing me money into my business. So why should I do it? What value does it bring, right? And this is just not just true here in Kenya. I think it's true around the world. Leaders are so fixated on, okay, well, I just care about the bottom line and my bonuses and the bank's bonuses and so on and so on. So I'm sorry, I just don't have time. I can't teach you. It's just not time. And if I'm teaching you, it's that manic train I was talking about. Either get on my train, understand, because by osmosis you'll get it, or step out the way, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't recalibrate to say, and there were so many beautiful businesses in like the 1950s, 60s, 70s even. I'm going to build a business that will make a profit. I'm not sitting here saying no business should make a profit. Of course you should make a profit.
Yeah.
But what is enough in my profit that I can nurture people, train people, empower my people to help my business grow even more, right? We've left that along the way completely. And then the legacy is, well, when I'm gone, my family will donate a wing in my honor and they'll put a plaque and this person will build this building and put... But what happens when that building gets torn down by city council or somebody who was land grabbed? Then what's your legacy, right? That's the question.
Yeah. I think we've made legacy about things, and your legacy can't live in a building.
It cannot live in a building.
It can't live in a children's home. There has to be
inside that child. If you're talking about the children's home, that child.
Exactly. And I think that's where, in my opinion, that's where some of the disconnect is. It's funny. So as Soul Stories sits under my company, which is Mukite Digital Consulting.
Yes.
And the reason why Soul Stories sits there is because I try and achieve two things.
Yeah.
One is I try and help people understand that their legacy is really important. And two, I try and show how you can give back in a very small way. So I think one of the things that you did mention to me is you have a philosophy called Pay It Forward.
Yeah, always.
Could you, I think I've seen a movie called Pay It Forward. I don't know if that's where it came from.
It's kind of pay it forward, and really the deeper sentiment around that, and it's one that I'm so committed with my life now, is each one teach one. So I can't write you a check of 10 million shillings, but I can give you 10 hours of my time, right? And 10 hours of my time could shape how you think. Like that lady came and said to you, hey, Laura, you don't want to serve me, but guess what? You're not going to progress.
Yeah.
I could go and do that. And I have mentored young girls quite a lot. I have had to put it on pause for the last sort of 1.5 years. One, because of personal health, but also travel, which meant that I could never physically be present in somebody's life enough. But when you give the time to teach somebody something, or now in my business, I'll tell someone, okay, this is the roadmap. This is what I want you to do. This is how I think you should do it. Go and do it. And we will sit on it 10 times until you get it. Then it's the idea of, well, don't just give someone some vegetables, give them the fertilizer to become self-sufficient, right? So this is my thing, each one teach one. And I will spend my life teaching everything I have learned, not just about life, but about business, but about brands. As much as anyone ever wants my time, I tell you that the number of people who say, can I just pick your brain and have a coffee with you? If I charged for that, I'd be a billionaire, right? But what would I do with that money? But the joy that somebody thought, well, you know, she took the time to listen and she took the time to give me some guidance. And that helped make the next decision that I took in my life invaluable.
You know, I also part of Mukite Digital is something we call the 10% Club.
Yeah.
And the 10% Club, the theory or the tenet of it is that as a community, as Africans especially, if you decide to give that hour of coffee, you're actually building your community, you're building the environment. I feel like people are more passionate about things than they care to admit. Like, let's say if you own a restaurant, you don't only have to give back by giving food to a children's home. You may be passionate about GBV, you know? Why don't you do something towards that? Everybody has a role. And I feel like even if you work in a school, or you worked in a school, or you were top in school, and then 10 years down the line, you're like, you know what? I'm going to sponsor the best math student in this school. You're going to change this person's life by giving them a 3K trophy. And you know,
child will be forever changed.
Exactly. And I think the issue that we have is we don't tell people, we don't give the small things. We always think we have to really give something massive. And so it's nice to hear each one teach one.
Yeah, because so it comes back to this thing, right? Legacy. My legacy should be a brick wall. My legacy should be this. I need a stadium named after me. So what we have thought is what you leave behind is these things. And if every single person can do something in their capacity, right? I can sponsor the best math student. I was really great at history. Hey, could I go to school and say, I have 2 hours a week. Tell me which students are struggling. Can I give my time to tutor them for free?
Exactly.
There is something you can do. It has nothing to do with money, right? If you can only give money, amazing, because we do need the money. If you can't give money, can you give time? If you can't give time, can you send a kind word, a kind message? Can you put something out there in the world, right? Part of the problem as to why we are in a world where we have bad leaders is because we didn't nurture this system along, right? So if we want the next caliber of generation of leaders to be different, to be not selfish, we have to start putting in those habits now, because they will have a lifetime of experiencing this person. I won that math trophy because this person was the best at math and they thought somebody else deserved to be. And then I went into this thing and somebody, you know, helped me with this. And then somebody gave me the time of this. So what happens when they become a leader? They've had a lifetime of seeing that and they instinctively give it back, right?
That's powerful. I never thought of it that way, but like, yeah.
If we want a better quality of a leader, part of our problem right now is we're choosing, and this again is worldwide, we're choosing the lesser of evils, right? We're not choosing the best, the better of the best, right? And if we want that to change, we have to start getting people, ourselves first, and then the next generation to think that way.
I agree. I agree. And unfortunately, I have to wrap up the conversation, but I really do agree with that because I think that we know what we don't want in when it comes to leadership.
Yeah.
But we haven't given the time to think of what we do
want, right?
Yeah.
But isn't the most beautiful thing if you know very clearly what you don't want, that's half the table off.
Exactly.
Now it's just the fun sifting.
Yeah, the work that AI can't really do for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Laura. This is so beautiful.
I know. I feel like I've learned so much about you that I didn't know. And I really wanted to get into the health bit as well, but there's no time. But I'd love to catch up with you again.
Yes.
Talk a little bit more about giving back to society, some of the things that I've learned, I guess, on the way.
Well, I'll only come back if this is more of Laura in the hot seat telling us.
I know.
We could flip the soul story.
When you talk about brand studio, I think I know where you're coming from. But yeah, I'll probably catch up. I say, can I have an hour and some coffee, please,
Absolutely.
Shreya?
For sure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had Shreya Karia here. I hope you've learned as much as I have. I feel like even as I started this journey on my soul, it's nice to pick up stories along the way and see just how rich our lives can be together. So until next time, you're watching Soul Stories. Thank you very much.